really appreciate the opportunity to have a great discussion today. And what we're going to focus on is as follows. Really, the first piece is helping you guys understand the importance of delivering a seamless customer experience, which is really critical. But in doing that, there's this threefold challenge. The challenge of performance, of security, and of how to derive those insights into the retail experience that your users are having. We have an exciting solution, which we look forward to demoing for you on the webinar today. And then we'll talk a little bit about how to get started, how you can take advantage of some of these exciting capabilities within your organization. So the first piece is really to understand the impact that web experiences have on the business. And I love this slide because it really reinforces this point with data, which is always kind of a great way to look at this. And specifically, if you look at this chart on the right-hand side, one of the largest retailers in the world, and what I love about this is you look at the progression of the blue bars from left to right, and as you move just from the first to the second bar. So a page actually being able to load for a potential consumer in 0 to 1 seconds in the first bar, then moving just to the next bar over, which is 1 to 2 seconds. Look at the drop in the conversion rates, which is the red line. It's incredible when you think about just moving from 1 to 2 seconds, the material impact that that has on the business, on the conversion rates, on your ability to keep users engaged all the way through the purchasing process and actually complete that sale. This is critically important. We all know that focusing on delivering world-class engaging web experiences is really important, and this data really drives that home, the correlation between the performance of those online experiences that your customers are having and the conversion of actual purchases on your site means to the business. Now the challenge is actually achieving that, right? Pulling that bar in. So where most organizations might be, much further down that spectrum at, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds, how do you pull that in? It's extremely challenging, especially when you think about all of the complexities that are at play. So we're living in a world where consumers are increasingly interacting with commerce platforms on mobile devices, a myriad of different mobile devices. You have different operating systems, different browsers, different graphics capabilities, different screen sizes. In addition to that, they're all accessing applications and websites from different network connection types. So as a retailer, trying to ensure the best possible user experience online, how do you design for the extreme fragmentation that we see within our customer base today? How do you ensure a consistent and positive user experience across all of these different devices, all of these different browsers, operating systems, network types, etc.? It's extremely, extremely challenging. When you layer on top of that the reality that, unfortunately, there's now a major security threat that's impacting industries across multiple different industry verticals, retail clearly being one of the top. Given all of the commerce that's conducted online, they're a natural target for security attacks, security breaches. Another major challenge when thinking about delivering that world-class user experience. And the last piece is, how do you actually kind of peel all of this back, right? How do you really understand everything that's happening across all these different users on all these different devices? It's really hard to ensure that consistent user experience so you don't end up in a situation where you have Twitter posts like we're seeing at the top left here and customer ratings like we're seeing at the top right. It really is a challenging environment. This is what Akamai has set out to help our retail customers solve. And what we've done is design a capability that runs over our globally distributed intelligent platform that helps retailers doing business online, trying to deliver these positive user experiences in three main ways. So the first is with scale, leveraging a global footprint, a globally deployed platform that allows them to offload the capacity from their origin infrastructure and ensure that regardless of whether it's a low demand or a peak demand time period, there's not going to be an overcongestion or overburden on our customers' origin infrastructure. The second piece is through performance, and this is a broad library of sophisticated performance optimization capabilities that allow our customers to deliver the best possible performance to their users in a situationally aware manner. What that means is that our platform is going to identify the specific situation for the specific user. So things like the device type, the network type, the geographic location, the type of content they're trying to access, and optimize the delivery of an online retail experience for that specific user in their unique situation. And the last piece is intelligence, actually being the platform that delivers roughly 30% of the world's internet traffic every day. There's a tremendous amount of data flowing over our platform. And that brings us to a service called Akamai Cloud Monitor. And as you guys can see from the green line here, this is representing the fact that the Cloud Monitor service is a real-time API data feed from Akamai's intelligent platform to your environment. So all day you have consumers all over the world accessing your online retail presence, trying to interact with that presence. What Cloud Monitor does is gives you a real-time data feed into everything that's happening with these consumer requests flowing over our platform. So you're going to be able to get visibility into the geography of your users, the network connection they're accessing it from, the last mile data and connectivity from your origin all the way to the user. Things like middle mile latency that gives you visibility into that end-to-end performance experience, page rendering times, and even into the security realm of WAF security events that may be targeting your sites or your origin infrastructure. So this is going to be an absolutely critical data feed that's going to give you just a ton of information around everything that you're delivering over Akamai's intelligent platform. Now, the question that this raises is, how do you take this massive data feed and derive business value and actionable insights from the data feed? So what Akamai does to deliver a consumer's online retail presence is, it's incredible, right? The scale, the performance, the intelligence capabilities we have, I think, are unmatched in the industry. But when it comes from customers who want to be able to derive business value and actionable insights from Cloud Monitor is what it says it is. It's a real-time data feed. And this is a critical challenge. And to address the challenge, Akamai has partnered with Sumo Logic. And I want to hand the presentation over to John from Sumo Logic, who's going to talk about some of the exciting things that customers can take advantage of to be able to really dig in and realize how to derive some of these business value and actionable insights from the Cloud Monitor data. So with that, John, take it away.
All right, thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. I think you did a great job in framing the big picture problem. But before I go into the specifics of sort of how Sumo Logic and Akamai work well together, I did want to talk a bit about Sumo Logic. I think some on the call may not be familiar with us and who we are. But Sumo Logic is a next generation machine data analytics service. We can take machine data from anything from applications, networks, servers, mobile devices, Internet of Things, and of course, Akamai logs, essentially anything that's a text-based log. We can bring in to the Sumo Logic platform, and once it's in our service, it can be used for what we consider table stakes, which is basic search and correlation, as well as visualizations and proactive alerting. Sumo Logic has some very powerful analytics and event detection capabilities, the first of which is filter and search. That's the ability just to simply query and find a single event among billions of records that are being generated by your online service and supporting services. We can search across all the data sources, whether it's the Akamai logs, whether it's your perhaps your AWS logs, your application server logs, database logs, error logs, custom application logs, all of that. And we can scale this out to terabytes a day. We also have very complex correlation logic, allowing us to compare and correlate data from your backend with, say, an IP reputation database. So you can understand what types of visitors you're getting, what their security profile might be. Are these bad actors that are keep visiting your site and perhaps exploiting a glitch in your CGI scripts, or is this legitimate traffic that just happens to be coming from overseas? We also do very complex pattern recognition. We have a technology called log reduce that can extract patterns from your log data across all of your sources. And what this does is it actually reduces the number of log files that you need to look at, log entries that you need to look at, by at least 3 orders of magnitude. And I'm going to show you how that works in our demo. And then finally, we do what we call anomaly detection. When we're looking at the log data that's coming in, that's streaming in, we're identifying patterns. And we're looking at those patterns and monitoring them on an ongoing basis. And whenever there's changes in those patterns, maybe it's an increase in a certain signature type or a decrease in a certain signature type, we'll fire off an anomaly, letting you know that something is going on inside of your environment that needs to be addressed. And we're doing the anomaly detection in real time. Now, the machine learning required for log reduce and anomaly detection is very compute intensive, which is why this service exists in a cloud implementation only. There is no software that we sell. This is a service that we offer. At the moment, the service is made up of hundreds of servers that are sitting in the Amazon AWS cloud. And what these servers are doing is reading in all of the data from all of our different customers, but because of our architecture and because of our design, we're true multi-tenant, we're able to leverage that compute cloud across all of the customers that are searching it. What this means is that there's always capacity in that environment for you to execute your complex queries and return and see a result in a timely manner. And in the event that the Sumo Logic Cloud starts seeing spikes in usage, we've designed it to be elastic and scale to accommodate those searches. So on to the key use cases for Sumo Logic and Akamai. The first among them is really the improving of your site availability and reliability. Reducing the checkout problems, as we saw in Greg's earlier slide, reducing the checkout problems by detecting the servers early is ultimately going to increase your customer satisfaction and increase your conversion rates. Sumo Logic also helps you strengthen your site security and helps you meet compliance, such as PCI compliance or your operational compliance. And we help you protect your brand by understanding what's happening in your environment, understanding the attack vectors that might be used by bad actors, and in helping you to better defend against those. And most interestingly, you can leverage Sumo Logic to better understand your business and get insights from the machine data, identifying trends and business growth opportunities in real time, and ultimately understand how you can better offer services or solutions or products to different customers, perhaps in different geos. The Cloud Monitor and Sumo Logic integration is very simple and very straightforward. We've been working a lot with Akamai on this, and we're basically treating both of these as cloud services, and we have what we're calling a cloud-to-cloud integration. And what that means to you is that there's no hardware to buy, there's no software to install, and it configures in minutes. Once the Akamai Cloud Trail or Cloud Monitor is set up, you simply point it at Sumo Logic, and within minutes the dashboards for our Akamai application start populating. Once the data is inside of Sumo Logic, a lot of these dashboards that I'm showing you are out of the box. Some of them can be customized. What we've done is we've worked with e-commerce sites in setting up their dashboards, so we understand what our customers are actually looking for. But in this case, we're looking at the Akamai data. We're able to understand how it's performing, what it's doing in the wild. Are my customers getting served in an expected time frame by Akamai? What's my total request volume? Is it being fully utilized? But we also monitor your origin performance, helping you understand when it's time to start sending traffic out to the Akamai edge, or conversely, time to bring that traffic back in and serve it from origin. This is all critical to how you scale, especially going into the holiday season. Taking it further, in addition to monitoring the front end, the user response and the Akamai data, we're also able to monitor the entire back-end infrastructure, whether it's network, application servers, database servers, or operating systems. We're looking at that machine data, and we're able to provide you with dashboards and alerting in real time. And what this means is that you're able to reduce your MTTI and MTTR by, our customers are telling us, by 50% or more. And we, as we saw from Greg's earlier slides, the faster we can get a problem resolved or avoid the problem altogether, the higher the conversion rates, the more steady the revenue stream. And in addition, because we're looking at all of this data in the back end, we're able to identify when it's appropriate to start sending more information and more data out to the Akamai edge. Customers also use us for security. We're able to pull in all of the data from your origin servers, login attempts, network activity, server logs, all of that type of information we're able to bring in to our security analytics app, and the dashboards simply populate once the sources are configured. But in addition to the origin data, we're able to pull in all of the WAF data as well, so you can understand what the attack vectors are on the Akamai network as well. And what this provides you with is a very comprehensive security view of your infrastructure. So you're able to proactively detect security breaches, and again, monitor your web application firewall, uncover any compliance violations, PCI or otherwise, and reduce the compliance audit costs by at least 30%. Business metrics are also readily available. It's surprising, they're readily available in most data sources that we see with our e-commerce customers. And again, this is an example site that I put together, but the dashboards, the setup, the layout, this is all data that our customers are interested in seeing. What's my revenue per hour? What's my revenue by country? What is the promo usage if I'm running any promotions? And what are my top selling SKUs? These dashboards are all drawn in real time, so you're able to identify your purchasing trends, deliver improved security or improved service and build loyalty, rapidly uncover customer experience issues, track customer activities such as abandonment, shopping cart abandonment, and monitor your ad statistics for optimal placement. So with that, I wanted to jump into a quick demo. Just give me 1 second to pop over into our browser. So what we're looking at here is is a business view of a fictitious shirt manufacturer. On the top of the screen, we're seeing the map of where my purchases are coming from by geo over the last hour. But most interesting on this screen is in the upper left side, the store revenue. We notice that it's looking pretty healthy, and then all of a sudden it drops flat. Something is going on inside of this environment. Now, from a business perspective, there could be lots of reasons for this, but the most obvious thing to do at this point would be to maybe peek over at the back end performance and see if there's anything happening there that could be to blame. Because as I mentioned, as you all know, these sites are very complex, and they span from the edge all the way back to your back-end databases and your back-end servers and infrastructure. So we see something very red and angry under database, and it looks like there's some sort of a problem going on in there. If I scroll down, I can also see that my response codes from my core servers, I'm starting to get a lot of client errors from that. So in Sumo Logic, every dashboard that we have is drillable. So we can simply click on the dashboard, and it's going to launch a search window that'll pull up all of the data behind that search that we just executed. And I can see in here that, yeah, I've got some errors, and they all kind of started right around here, right around 10 o'clock in the morning. So if I go and click over into the messages, I can actually see what's happening to them, in that environment directly, and look at all of the messages themselves. I've parsed this data out. It's very easy and straightforward to parse data inside of Sumo Logic and put it into these nice reports and nice dashboards. And of course, we can take the data set and we can either present it as a graph, we can present it as a line graph, we can, if it's appropriate, present it as a time chart, and we can also export this data out to an Excel spreadsheet if you so desired. But let me jump back into the messages, and I'm right around 10:10 in the morning. You can see where the spike started to happen in client errors. If I grab one of those messages that's coming through at say 10:09, this really isn't telling me much. It's showing me a 404 error inside of actually in this case it's 200, but it's showing me an error inside of my log data, but it's not giving me everything that I might need to see. But if I click on this button, I can actually select all of the messages before and after the event started to happen, plus or minus 5 minutes. Now it's not just grabbing those messages that are related, say, to those servers and those server errors. I've actually told it to get all of the data for that 10-minute period from all of the logs of all of the services and devices that support my e-commerce server. And it's come back with 228 pages of log data, and that particular log message is on page 99. That's still a lot of data to go through, and it's going to be very hard for somebody to scroll through this and try to find where that problem is. Now, I can simply go and search, say, I see the word error, I see the word exception. Maybe I want to see all of the messages that include error. I just add that into the search, and it's going to pull all of that data back. But again, it's just telling me that there's an exception, that there's a database timeout, but I'm not, so I understand that there's a problem with the database, but is this really the problem that's causing my site to go flat and my commerce numbers to go flat? And it may be, but it's probably not. It seems to be occurring quite a bit. What I'm looking for is really that needle in a haystack. There's something in there. There's some problem that's happened that I need to identify. So let me go back and look at, again, this is the entire log stream, and I'm roughly at 10:10 in the morning when that error happened. I'm going to click this little button, the log reduce button. I mentioned earlier on that Sumo Logic leverages machine learning and pattern recognition to reduce the amount of data that you need to look at in order to get value back. So what we've done is we're looking, again, this is across the entire log stream that's coming in and supporting this online service, and I'm pulling back all of the data and I'm categorizing it based on the signature. So I can see lots of messages coming through. These are the database timeout errors. That's a symptom. That's not the actual error itself. I'm seeing lots of sort of normalish type traffic, and anything that's happening in great frequency, that's what we're kind of considering normal. In the analogy of finding a needle in a haystack, this is all really hay. But if I go over to page 2, I start, and you notice I took the 228 pages of log data, and I've now reduced that down to 2 pages with roughly 20 odd signatures. What I'm able to do is look at the less frequent events, and these might be where some of those changes have happened in the infrastructure, or maybe a server's gone down and stopped responding. This is where I'm going to be able to find those types of problems. And in this case, I've identified that one log message that looks like it's probably causing my problem, which is a network administrator went into the firewall and essentially blocked all of my TCP traffic between two networks. This happened right around the time that that the error happened. So this is my most likely cause of my outage. So again, I've gone through and I've shown you the dashboards that we were able to create. Basic searching, it's very simple, but the log reduce capability and the ability to go through, look at all of that data, and find that needle in a haystack, essentially with doing no query work at all. What we've done is we've very rapidly found a problem that's going to return value back to the business, and we've done it without having to hire anybody who's particularly a guru at Sumo Logic. Even the workload can be shifted left and still get value from the service. So that's it for the demo. Let me hop back into the PowerPoint briefly. And I wanted to talk about how, I guess, Greg, maybe you can pop off mute now. We can talk about how to get started with Sumo Logic and Akamai.
Sure, John.
All right, great. Yeah, so look, I think there's two parts to this, and I think the first part is how do you get the Akamai Cloud Monitor turned on, and who can get that, and how does all of that work?
Yeah, I think that's the great place to start, right? Because Cloud Monitor, as I talked about before, is a service that is really only relevant once customers are taking advantage of one of Akamai's many delivery solutions. So we have delivery solutions that fall into kind of a few categories. There are consumer-oriented web delivery solutions, so those would be really the perfect fit for online retailers, e-commerce, travel, hospitality, etc. There's also a line of enterprise web solutions, which are more kind of business application delivery, B2B platforms, internal productivity applications. We also have a whole suite of media delivery solutions. So for customers who are using any of those delivery services, that means that those websites, those applications, those assets, those video assets, for example, those are being delivered over Akamai's global intelligent platform as a result of them being a customer of one of those delivery services. So the step for them to be able to take advantage of Cloud Monitor couldn't be easier. It's literally just an inexpensive, easy add-on to their Akamai contract. And what that then allows us to do is do a very quick and easy integration. John, I love how you kind of described it before as a cloud-to-cloud integration. So really the first step is getting the Cloud Monitor service added to the contract of an existing Akamai customer, and then working with Sumo Logic to do that cloud-to-cloud integration. And the one last piece I want to mention until you talk about kind of how the other half of that cloud-to-cloud integration works, John, is that special for folks on this webinar, we're offering a free trial of Cloud Monitor. So work through your Trace3 account representative. We'd love to offer those existing Akamai customers an opportunity to get a free trial of this and really take advantage of the great capabilities. And again, easy to turn on for existing customers. And then the second piece, John, I'll kind of hand it over to you to talk about that second half of the cloud-to-cloud integration.
Sure, thanks, Greg. Yeah, getting started with Sumo Logic couldn't be easier as well. Again, Trace3, who is sponsoring this this webinar with us, they're one of our top partners that we work with. We've done lots of business with them in the past. They're what we see as sort of the next generation of value-added partner or value-added reseller of services. In this case, they've worked with numerous businesses to help them with their cloud strategy, big data strategy. They have an education focus as well as just general business innovation and leveraging technology to sort of reach that next step. We do lots of work with these guys, lots of briefings with them. Couldn't say more about them. They have lots of customers that are in the retail space as well. So they've got experience, and they've done this before, and they've worked with Sumo Logic quite a bit in their accounts, as well as Akamai. Once, so I think the obvious step would be to reach out to a Trace3, your closest Trace3 rep, and I'm sure we'll have contact information available for those that have attended. Once you have a Sumo Logic account, it is ridiculously simple to set up your Akamai collector. It takes about 5 minutes to get it set up. Once that's done and the data starts coming in, you can use our content or create your own content if you need to for your particular requirements, but you'll instantly be able to see the data in searches and in dashboards. It really is that quick to do. So with that, let's go ahead and open it up for Q&A.
Thank you, John. We do have a few questions lined up, but we'll also take this opportunity to remind everyone that Sumo Logic is also offering free 30-day trial, and you can sign up on www.sumologic.com/signup. So feel free to go ahead and try the service for yourself. And like Greg mentioned, Akamai also has a free trial available on their website. So the first question is for you, John. It comes from Bob, who's asking, can you please elaborate, how can organizations know if they are PCI compliant?
Great question. So we actually have a PCI app that we've developed, and it takes a little bit of services to get it set up, because PCI data can be collected from anywhere inside of your infrastructure. But what we're monitoring, for example, would be login data, any sort of attack vectors that are, or sorry, any sort of attacks that are coming through. It's basically that hygiene around general PCI that requires log analytics as part of it. We're also able to scrub your data, looking for any sort of credit card information that shouldn't be in your log data that may have turned up there. Any logins that are coming, typical login type scenarios would be 3 failed logins, maybe 3 failed logins and a successful login, or 2 logins from different geos. And we're able to monitor all of that in essentially a PCI dashboard for you. And the implementation doesn't take very long to do. Like I said, it's a little more complex than the Akamai, and that happens in just minutes, but it is very straightforward to do. We're certainly happy to have more conversations on PCI.
Great. The next question is for Greg. Can I use Cloud Monitor if I'm not using any other Akamai solutions?
Yeah, that's a good one, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. So in order to take advantage of the Cloud Monitor service, a customer would have to be using one of Akamai's delivery solutions. So I guess the answer direct to that question would be no. It's not a standalone capability. It is something that has as a prerequisite that a customer is delivering their traffic, delivering their content over Akamai's intelligent platform. Then they would have the opportunity to turn on the Cloud Monitor service and get that data feed into everything that's happening.
All right. The next question is for John. Can Sumo Logic work with all Akamai data sets? I'm in marketing and looking for a solution to optimize paid ad spend.
Yeah, as long as the data is available in Cloud Monitor, we can bring it into Sumo Logic. And that's configured through, I'm not sure what the interface is called, Greg, but where you configure the data that you're actually sending over to Cloud Monitor. But there wouldn't be anything, is there anything to your mind that would limit the type of data that's available, Greg? No,
we give the customer the flexibility and the setup on the Cloud Monitor side. So, admittedly, there's a lot of data there, and so we're happy to send the full range of the data set, and we have many customers that do want access to all of that. We also have other customers that want to kind of restrict the data to certain types of data, certain activities, certain events, etc. And that's a very easy exercise for us to set up so that customers can manage getting access to the data that allows them the visibility that they want for their business use cases.
Okay, we have another question for John. How does Sumo Logic scale to support each customer's compute and storage requirements?
So we're a cloud-based service, and we're monitoring what's happening inside of our infrastructure all the time. We actually are monitoring it with Sumo Logic, and we're keeping an eye on not only what the overall processors are in the different or the processing utilization and memory utilization in the different modules, but we're also continually monitoring query response times to ensure that it's meeting our our service level that we are trying to deliver to our customers, or promising to deliver to our customers. So the way that we scale, it all comes down to the architecture and how it was put together. Because it is truly multi-tenant, it's sort of built into the service that we can expand our compute footprint to meet the customer requirements. If there's a follow-up, I'm happy to answer that as well.
Okay. The next question is for Greg. Is Cloud Monitor only applicable to specific Akamai solutions?
No. So it's definitely something where there's different use cases there. You know, the use case that we focused on today around retail is definitely one of the more kind of business critical ones, if you will, because of the fact that there is that correlation between the experience users have, the conversion rates, and being able to optimize for that. But we do have a lot of customers that use this across, media products, even some of the kind of internal, more enterprise application solutions. So there are multiple different use cases, and those are also use cases that are very well supported by Sumo Logic as well. So again, we kind of focused on retail today because that's certainly a hot topic for folks, but that kind of cloud-to-cloud integration between Akamai and Sumo Logic can be applied across all sorts of different customer use cases and situations.
Okay, and the next question is for John. What are examples of anomalies that Sumo Logic can uncover from Akamai datasets?
So that's a really good question. The way that anomaly detection works is that we're looking at the log patterns that are coming through and trying to understand we're looking at the types of signatures that are coming through and the frequency and the distribution of those signatures in the log stream. So anytime a certain type of log data or a certain type of signature starts to either spike or drop, or maybe it's eliminated entirely, or maybe a net new log signature has come in, an anomaly will be triggered. So from an Akamai standpoint, most of the anomaly detection that we'll be doing is going to be mostly around in that security area. My guess is around the WAF data, because I think that's where we're going to see sort of the more odd behavior. What we'll see on the Akamai side from a delivery standpoint is fairly straightforward, and I think those you may see spikes in certain types of traffic come through. Maybe it's a certain page that's being loaded, or page type that's being loaded more than it had been before. That could trigger an anomaly. But really, we're looking at that entire log stream and looking for changes in the log pattern. So it really could be anything that triggers that anomaly.
Okay, and we have another question for you, John. What do I need to do to install the Sumo Logic and Akamai integration? What changes do I need to make, and how long does it take?
So to do this from a Sumo Logic, I'll start with Sumo Logic, and then maybe Greg can talk to the Akamai side. But from a Sumo Logic standpoint, there is no software to install. You simply sign up for the Sumo Logic service, and then once your account's created, you'll create what's called a hosted collector, and that's essentially an HTTP endpoint that lives in the cloud service. Once that's created, you'll take that endpoint data, the URL for that data, and insert that into your Cloud Monitor configuration, so the Cloud Monitor knows where to send the log data. Think of it as sort of a fire hose of log data that's coming through. Once the Akamai Cloud Monitor is set up to point to the Sumo Logic hosted endpoint, the data just flows through. So like I said, there is no software, there's no hardware. It's a pure cloud-to-cloud integration.
Yeah, just to add on to that, John, it's the same on the Akamai side, and I agree with you. I think that's the beauty of this integration is you take kind of two cloud-based services, and the integration of them is not only quick and easy, but on both sides of it, there's really zero burden to the customer in terms of managing the service from a hardware or software perspective. So it really does make it really easy to set up and consume.
All right. The next question is again for John. Is real-time customization of dashboards allowed on the Sumo Logic platform?
Real-time customization of dashboards allowed. So you can customize all the dashboards until your heart's content. You could take any of that search data, any searches that are resulting in a data set that is, I guess, dashboardable. So any sort of aggregate data that you've collected, you can certainly push that up to a dashboard. Now, what I'm not sure of is, are you trying to change the times and sort of how frequently the dashboard's updating? Because there is some of that flexibility in the dashboard itself. So in the dashboards I was using, it started off with a 3-hour time window. But if I wanted to change it to show me the last 30 minutes, I could do that in the dashboard window itself. But as far as changing what the data looks like, that's really, the dashboards are a function of a search that you've created. So you'd go in and you'd modify the search, and then once you've modified it, you can publish that back out to your dashboard.
Thank you. And the next question is for Greg. Is Cloud Monitor only compatible with Sumo Logic?
Yeah, that's a good question. We get asked this time to time from different customers we're engaging with. So it's not. Sometimes customers have their own homegrown monitoring or APM tools or whatever it is. So it can technically get integrated with really any kind of solution that folks are using. I think the beauty of what we've showed today is the power of the integration, right? And the fact that this is something that we've done a lot of kind of back-end work on behalf of our customers so that the connector between Akamai and Sumo Logic is not only quick and easy to set up, but as John demoed before, gives a lot of really impactful visualization of that Cloud Monitor data. So, from an Akamai standpoint, we're happy to point the Cloud Monitor data feed wherever a customer wants it to, but I think, the challenge that we hear customers struggling with is then how do they really, bring to life that data and kind of, derive insights from it, and that's where working with a partner like Sumo Logic really has a ton of business value.
Thank you. And the next question is for John. Will I be notified about every anomalous event? How does Sumo Logic reduce false positives?
Right. So I'm gonna get to a little bit nerdy here, but what we use sort of semi-trained algorithms when we're doing anomaly detection as well as log reduce. So there are times where you might get a false positive come through on an anomaly. Once the anomaly is presented, you can go into our anomaly detection window and edit, not really edit the anomaly, but add metadata to it and add some color to it. So for example, if it's a false positive, you can identify it as a false positive and something just to be ignored. And the next time that anomaly comes through the log data, it'll just be ignored out of hand. Other times an anomaly may be something that's critical. And in Sumo Logic, you would go in and you would, once the first time you saw that anomaly come through, you'd go through and you'd edit it, add some metadata to it, add a criticality to it, so that the next time that anomaly came through, you actually had some actionable intelligence on what that anomaly was.
Great. And the next question again is for you, John. It looks like the Sumo Logic solution is much like another big competitor in the space. What are the key differentiators?
So the biggest differentiator that we have that's relevant to the Akamai integration is that this is cloud to cloud and very smooth and very easy. There is no consulting contract that needs to be set up. It's very straightforward to get signed up and get it configured. The other things that we do around anomaly detection and log reduce, and frankly the amount of data that we're able to search and the query performance that we're able to maintain for those searches is all because of the delivery model, which is cloud-based, multi-tenant, with massive amounts of compute and memory and storage making up the service. So it's closer to what you would find if you were using a Google than if you were just searching in an on-prem database.
Okay. The next question is for both John and Greg. It's around performance. Performance is critical for us. Do you provide any service SLAs?
Yeah, John, I can jump in on the Akamai side. There are.
Okay.
So it depends on the solution that a customer is using, but around performance, we talked about at the beginning, trying to pull that bar in and trying to make those page load times get closer to, kind of the 0 to 2 second range, because that can really drive greater conversions. So it depends on the Akamai solution. Customers can kind of learn more about those on our website. There's a full range of SLA, from 25% improvement all the way up to 100% performance improvement. So some of our flagship products really can have a pretty dramatic improvement for customers, online delivery. So it depends, but there's definitely is, depending on the solution that customers choose, an SLA that we would stand behind.
Yeah, and Sumo Logic's much the same way. We are a service, and if the service isn't available, then all of our customers are going to be impacted by it. So we have SLAs for the service itself, for the availability of the service, and response time as well.
Great. The next question is for John. Are the APIs open source for Sumo Logic to integrate with some of the existing internal products that I may be using for monitoring and logging?
Yeah, so we do actually have a very rich API, and it's documented on our support website. It's REST-based and public. We actually have a lot of customers and other interested individuals that have various open source projects around leveraging the Sumo Logic API for various things, such as PowerShell and things like that. But as far as bringing data into Sumo Logic, it's very straightforward to do. There are lots of ways to do it, but none of them are overly complex. If you do need to, it's rare that you might need to use an API to bring the data into us, rather than using say an HTTP endpoint or one of our collectors. But if that's a requirement, if that's something that you need to do, we certainly have an API that's exposed for that.
Great. And the next question is for both Greg and John. How do you ensure that your service is secure?
Yeah, I can.
So I can start on this one.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Why don't I start on this one, and then because
Sure.
you did it last time, I feel it's only fair. So from a Sumo Logic standpoint, when the company was founded, we do operate in a cloud, and one of the perspective that we took was that we really can't trust anybody in the cloud. So that drove a lot of our security decisions. So the data that's brought into Sumo Logic from a customer, it's encrypted when it's being brought in. It's encrypted in transit inside of the system. It's encrypted at rest. Not only are the S3 storage buckets that we use encrypted, but every customer's data is encrypted 256 AES, and we're doing key rotation every 24 hours. So for every day of data, that's a different key that's required to access it. And of course, no customers are sharing the same keys or have access to the key rings. Those are all stored and managed separate from the Sumo Logic service. We've done lots of security tests, pen tests, and things like that in the past, and we're happy to have security conversations. But we're very confident in the security of our service, and we have to be in order to exist in this business.
Yeah, just to add on to that, John, on the Akamai side, we have a very, very similar philosophy, and so there is a ton of work that we've done to kind of harden our delivery platform, level 1 PCI compliant, a lot of work being done to embrace, customers who are delivering their traffic over, SSL. And then in addition to that, there are security services that Akamai sells as well that really provides an extended perimeter of security protection from a customer's origin out onto the network and is able to kind of identify and mitigate any security threats where the attackers are versus waiting for that to get to their origin infrastructure. So there's a lot more information on our website on Akamai's cloud security solutions that I encourage folks to check out if security is an area of concern for their retail environment.
Thank you, and we don't have any more questions. And with that, we'll close the webinar. Thank you, everyone, for joining. You will be receiving a recording as well as information on the free sign-up in a thank you email from Sumo Logic, Akamai, and Trace3 shortly. Thank you again for joining the webinar.